The numbers are out from 2012, and frankly, I think that the Ku Klux Klan and all Americans who hate African Americans will sleep a little bit easier, at least in some parts of the country. It turns out that in New York City, 42.4% of the babies killed by abortion are African American. They're black. But here's what's even crazier. There were 31,328 black babies killed and only 24,758 born. That's what? More than 6,000 dead. Then born, alive, okay? This is, in part, black genocide. And there are a lot of white elitists who aren't members, per se, of the Ku Klux Klan. But, for example, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, our Supreme Court judge, she had this to say in an interview a couple years ago in the New York Times. She said, frankly, I had thought that at the time Roe was decided, there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of. So that Roe was going to be then set up for Medicaid funding of abortion. I mean, she was being honest, right? There are some populations out there, I won't say who, African Americans, and so we don't want that many of them, and so we were hoping it would kind of reduce their numbers, and if that didn't work, well, we'll set up Medicaid. We'll make the taxpayer pay for it. What's her motto? It might be something like this: kill early, kill often. Or it might be something like, why spend $30,000 a year housing a young African-American male behind bars when for $400 of taxpayer money you can end his life and see that he's discarded in a landfill? For those of you who are even remotely not in tune with irony or with dark sarcasm, I hate child killing. I hate black genocide. I hate the genocide of any race. And I despise what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said. What she said was evil. And it was perhaps an unguarded moment. Maybe she read it the next day and thought, had I lost my mind? What was I thinking that I actually said what I believed? But to my African American friends who are slaves to the Democratic Party and slaves to their agenda, don't you see it? They use you as a voting bloc. They use you. They've got you trapped on the government dole, all right? You're a part of the federal plantation, okay? President Johnson said it. He was going to make sure that most blank N-words voted for the Democratic Party for 200 years by creating housing, food stamps, Medicaid, Head Start, all of these things, government giveaways. But they're turning around and they're helping to kill your family. They're killing African American babies in numbers that are way out of proportion. 1 out of every 3 black babies dies in an abortion mill, but African American women only make up 12% of the population. That should only be 12% of babies being killed are black, but instead it's 3 times that. Don't you get it? They're using you to stay in power, but they're also inciting you and baiting you to kill your babies because they don't want too many African Americans. I mean, what was the line that she used? We didn't want too many, in particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of. So let's get some Medicaid funding. I mean, who wants to live like Jesse Jackson, who said when he's walking in the street and he hears footsteps coming up behind him, he is relieved when it's not an African American male? That's maybe why he and Ruth Bader Ginsburg are in agreement. That if we've created this welfare state, we've created these fatherless homes, we've helped create the atmosphere where gangs can thrive, right? And now there is this disproportionate number of young black men involved in crime and in prison. Maybe the solution, according to them, is just kill a few more of them so we don't have to deal with them when they're older. Your agenda will rot in hell. This is the voice of resistance.